list. We have a checklist. Right now we're in beta. All of you are sending in things that may be little glitches or things that you would love to see on the platform. This is not my platform. This is not Tony's platform. This is our platform. As I look at other blockchain projects, not in our decentralized ecosystem, but if you look at Dogecoin, for example, right? Doge just went from 2 cents to 40 some cents. And what can you use Dogecoin for? I don't know of anything, but Elon Musk tweets about it, right? They have a community that just loves it. And so, you know, it blew the value of the token up. Here we have a service that you're on right now, that we have real world revenue, and there's massive amount of work that's been put into it and a lot more coming. And it's our platform, which is exciting. So the promotion that we wanted to announce, then we're going to give you some things. I want Tony to share with you what he sees. Like, why does this person, this entrepreneur, go, look, I'm going to put all of my things aside. Every business project I have, I'm going to delegate it. And then what I'm going to do is laser focus on blockchain, and then laser focus. I heard him telling someone, or a group of people in a room, that were all multimillionaires. And they go, what are you focused on? He goes, R-Link. And they go, what about this, that, and the other? And he goes, R-Link. He goes, I'm laser focused. And they go, but what about this other project? He goes, I only have one laser. We'll get this one rocking first. Then we will go to the next one. He goes, I'm a very simple person, but I like the laser focus. So what we wanted to do is give you a promotion to reward you, even if you couldn't make it to Vegas. So right now, the R-Link nodes are $4,500 a node. They're producing about 3,000 rewards a day. If you purchase, or anyone that you know purchases an R-Link node, and we're doing this retroactive from last Thursday, you're going to get a month. Actually, it's over a month of distribution with that node bonus. So 100,000 bonus tokens with the node purchase. And let's say, for example, Ruth sold me 5 nodes. I get 500,000 bonus tokens, 100,000 per node. But because Ruth is the one that sold me the 5 nodes, she's going to get 500,000 tokens, 100,000 per node. That's a win-win situation for every single person. Now, again, we can't make any claims. I'm actually glad this is not recording. And there's no guarantee, right? But I look back and go, man, what if the tokens happen to go to $1? Like, what if we put millions of people on this platform, which is our goal? We have lots of revenue, and we're giving 100,000 tokens to someone that bought a $4,500 node. That's massive. And the person that sold it got 100,000. So the way that I'm looking at it in my head, as if it already happened. Like, what would you say if we said we're going to give you a certain number bonus, and I won't say it, to go sell a node? You would be like, how many can I do? Is there a limit? There is no limit. So Tony, is there anything, and we're going to do that to the end of the month. Tony, is there anything that I'm missing on the promotion? I would love for you to come in and kind of share with the group your thoughts on the timing of where we are, you know, why you're so excited, the future of R-Link, and anything else you want to share. We'll kind of bounce back and forth. I know you.
No, I mean, the promotion was on the money, buddy. You sell a node, that new person that buys the node for R-Link, they're getting the 100,000 rally tokens, and you get 100,000 rally tokens. You sell me 5 nodes, I get 500,000 rally tokens. You get 500,000 rally tokens. And again, you know, like Darren says, we have no crystal ball, but if I think we are in our first 4 months did more revenue than Gala Games did in their first 4 years. And so if they hit 87 cents, I don't know why we wouldn't go higher than that. And again, that comes down to the community. But can you imagine somebody getting 100,000 tokens and it ends up at $1 a token and being $100,000 for paying 4,500? Like, at the end of the day, our community can have that impact. Like, we can help it grow. And I know, you know, as we come into the holidays, as Darren said, a lot of people back off a little bit. I was recruited into the business industry, into the world of business, December 7th of 2000. And so if you took a break, if actually the lady that recruited me into the industry had decided to take the holidays off, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably be working at a bank or something. I don't know what I'd be doing, but I probably wouldn't need to live in Puerto Rico for the tax advantages. I'd probably be, somewhere in Kansas just hanging out. But at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason. God had bigger plans for me, but I was fortunate that somebody didn't take the holidays off.
Hey,
That
Tony, your
they,
camera's off too, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Your camera's off.
yeah, it should be on, but let me try and fire it back in. Let me know. Is that good?
It's turning on right now. No, it didn't turn on there.
What about now?
You're showing twice too, logged in twice, but that's okay.
Yeah,
No
is it
worries.
working now?
No, not showing up now.
Well, I see me, but they're running updates right now. I know people are having trouble getting on, but we had a few things that they're updating and fixing. Unfortunately, there's no great time to do it. I just started recording. I think maybe Kim figured that out or somebody, Rhonda. But we're still in beta. We tell people that, like, at the end of the day, we're getting ready to come out of beta. But before we get out of beta, we do have updates and fixes that need to be run through. And there's no real ideal time to run them. If they start them in the evening and it runs through for several hours, then we end up with some meeting issues once in a while. But for me, like I said, I think the holidays, because I came into the business world, into entrepreneurship during the holidays, it's always been really good for me. My first check that I ever made over $10,000 in a month actually came in January, but it was from the December business that I built. It was from the volume I built in December, and it was a monthly check, but basically on the 15th of January, I got paid for my December production. And I tell people to put your pedal to the metal. Like, what you do now during the holidays will set you up for 2025. And if you look at cryptocurrency charts, even though people are going crazy, they're like, oh, Bitcoin's at an all-time high. Like, this is not the bull run year. This is pre-bull run. The run really starts in 2025. So the question becomes, do I want to press forward now? And if I'm running a marathon and I sit down and enjoy the holidays and don't get off the couch, and then January 1 comes in, I celebrate the new year, and on January 2, I start running, that's fine. I'm running the marathon. I started January 2nd. But what if Darren, during the holidays, just started jogging a little bit? Then he'd take a little break and have some turkey with the family. And then the next day, he'd start jogging a little bit more. And then he'd take a break and celebrate Christmas with his family. And then he'd start jogging again. And then he'd take a little break and celebrate New Year's Eve and New Year's Day with his family. And then January 2nd, when I'm getting out of the blocks and I've got 26.2 miles to go, what if he's already jogged 20 miles? And now he's only got 6.2 miles left to run. I can still get to the finish line. I can still win the race, but I ain't going to beat Darren. And what's great is Darren, if he's been jogging, a lot of people will probably start jogging with him. And anytime somebody wins, he gets rewarded. And so I'm sitting here going, now's the time to start moving forward before the race gun even goes off. If I have an advantage, if you take the best marathoner in the world and we're going to run the New York Marathon against each other, but I get to start a month ahead of him. Like, I can't run 26 miles. I can't, not straight. I've never trained for it. I think it would be real bad for me to even try that. But if I run a mile a day for 25 days, which I could do that, actually, I probably do that on a pickleball court. And then you take the world record holder and they shoot the gun off and he's got to run 26.2 miles. And I have 1.2 miles left to go to finish a marathon. And I can literally hit the finish line and win. I win. There's no way they can beat me. And so I'm telling folks, now's the time to press. And a lot of folks, I think I get lots of questions when I go to even successful people, wealthy people. I've been speaking to a lot of big family offices, kind of old money, which I'm not old money. My dad was a railroader. My mom was a substitute teacher. You know, our vacations were going back to Pennsylvania to visit my grandparents and baling hay for weeks during the summer. I literally worked all summer. I loved it. I wouldn't change anything, but that was our vacation. You know, we weren't going to Disney. We weren't flying to Hawaii or any of that stuff. We went to see my family in Pennsylvania and work on a farm. And it was cool. We drove. We didn't, you know, they didn't want to waste money on airline tickets on a couple of kids. Me and my sister, we drove, you know, 19 hours or whatever, you know, and stayed at that. I remember get the Howard Johnson motel or whatever, you know, just pull over and get a cheap motel. And I go into these family offices with, you know, people like Lauren Bush, you know, that's HW's granddaughter, W's niece, you know, she's the Bush, you know, and then Mitzi Purdue from Purdue Chicken and Sheraton Hotels, you know, these people that, you know, their grandparents were billionaires or whatever, and they got all this money. And what I didn't realize, they call it next gen, the next generation, that old money, about 90% of the next generation, within 3 generations, they lose all their money. They've gone through all of it. It splits amongst several people, and they bad investments, bad ideas, starting businesses that fail, whatever. They end up losing it. And I didn't think like that. I think from the media and everything I'd always heard, it was like, oh, you know, there's so many wealthy people, the old money, it just keeps going, keeps going. It's like it doesn't work like that. Like people like us come in and we're the new money. And then our kids will be, you know, older money, and grandkids will be older money. And usually the great grandkids are right after that have screwed it up. And so a lot of those folks came to me as I was speaking at these events as kind of a new successful entrepreneur. And it is kind of humbling, but a lot of times a higher net worth and more success than some of them inherited from their parents or grandparents. And so they would come up to me and they started talking to me about what separates the entrepreneurs that win and the ones that don't, the business people that win and the business people that don't. And I think Darren talked about consistency. I think that's one of the most important things for me. And the other thing is internal motivation. And Darren and I were talking about that earlier today as well. He had a mentor that talked about, you know, motivation, that internal motivation is what is required for success. And you have to have clarity and belief in the vision that you're moving towards. And I had a mentor of mine that was extremely, extremely successful, owned several different companies. And he talked about success. And he always said, success requires discipline. Discipline requires commitment. And commitment is always internal. And I've seen leaders even in this ecosystem, successful people that are not having as much success as they used to have, and they're demotivated. And for whatever reason, they don't have that discipline to day in, day out, do the things that they need to do that it requires to become successful. And because they don't have that discipline, that they're not committed to something. And because they're not committed to something, they don't have that belief, which it creates that internal drive, that internal fire that has to be, you know, lit inside of each and every one of us. And I don't know what it was for me. I know it was God-given, but I also know it's a learned skill set as well. So I was certainly blessed, but I've also seen people that weren't come up through my organization, my teams, that were not naturally motivated. They were not internally and intrinsically motivated. They were always externally motivated, meaning they had to plug into a leader. They had to plug into an event. They had to plug into somebody to find that fuel in their tank. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. We have plenty of events, plenty of leaders like Darren, plenty of people that are willing and able to help any way they can, any time that they can. But at the end of the day, eventually, I truly believe this. Like, if you want to get to the next level of success, you have to be internally motivated. And all I can tell people is this: when I get done talking to someone, let's say they're in a position where they're not as excited as they were, they're having doubts, they're fearful, they're not sure if they're going to make it to the finish line of the race. I affect people's environment. I'm almost never affected by my environment. I affect others' attitude. I affect the way other people get excited. I affect the way other people believe in something. And it's a transference of my belief that I think has helped me have so much success and build massive organizations. And I can tell you this: whether you believe in this or not is irrelevant to me. Whether anybody believes in this or not is irrelevant to me, because I truly believe that without anyone on here, that I could add millions of users into this platform. But the great news for me is I have people like Darren Kidd, who's intrinsically motivated. He's motivated internally, and he has the same belief level I do, or maybe even greater. And so now he's going to add millions of people, with or without me, into this platform. I truly know that. I know if God would have said on my flight, it wasn't my time, luckily, but I flew on a Gulfstream from Utah to Puerto Rico yesterday. And if God would have said, hey, you guys ain't going to make it, it's your time, I want you up in heaven or whatnot, hey, it's my time. And I'm sure Darren would have been sad, hopefully, that I wasn't around. But I think Darren knows that he has responsibility not only to himself and his family, but to each and every one of you that has this vision for our link. And he has my wife, who has this vision for our link. And he has that belief that's internally driven. He doesn't need to see what I'm doing. He doesn't care. I could be playing pickleball. I could be working. I could be sleeping. Darren is doing events. Darren is doing our links. Darren is bringing people into our community. And that's the mindset that if you develop that mindset and that internal motivation, it will help you succeed at such high levels that you couldn't even imagine it. And I see so many people that are successful that when they see a leader, they see somebody that's wavering, and they immediately start to waver. And it's okay. I just look at that person and go, man, I need them to plug into somebody like me consistently, or someone like Darren, so they can get fueled up. And that's the vast majority of people. 99.9% of people need to plug into something or someone so they have the confidence that they can move forward and find success. Every now and again, there's folks, for whatever reason, that make that decision. And if you look at the word decision, it comes from the Latin incise, which means to cut. A decision means that you cut off all other options. In essence, you could say, you know what Alexander the Great did: burn the boats. We win or we perish. When they sailed across, the Mediterranean, they landed, and then he ordered his soldiers, burn the boats. We win or we perish. They had no other alternative but to win. I make decisions just like that. God instilled that in me, the ability to do that. And certainly my mentors nurtured that mentality. And I saw other people that learned that mentality, that maybe didn't have that positive attitude that I was so fortunate to be blessed with. I've seen people that have had negative attitudes, just naturally pessimistic, and then mentors that they had shifted their mindset. And all of a sudden, they're some of the most positive people and the most intrinsically motivated people I've ever met in my life. And so you can all make that decision that you're all in on a project like Arlink. You're all in on Rally. And are there going to be days that are tough? Are there going to be days where you can't get into the meeting? Are there going to be days where I can't get it to record? And luckily Kim or Rhonda or somebody came in behind and got it recorded. Yeah, we're in beta. There's going to be issues. There's going to be problems. I talked with the CEO, the former CEO of Zoom. He actually is an advisor to us. About every 2 months or so, I reach out. His name's Eric Berman, and he's happy to give us advice and help us. He started WebEx. He's the founder of WebEx, and then he became the CEO of Zoom. And then the day Zoom went public, he took his retirement. He basically made hundreds of millions of dollars and was bought a ranch, and he's doing some, I think, oranges and avocados and things like that. But he was talking to me about the challenges, and even today that Zoom goes through, as big as they are, 300 million users a day, 20 billion market cap. And he's like, yeah, the tech issues and the problems and the glitches still happen to them. So I don't let it discourage me. I sit there and I go, you know what? If Zoom at $20 billion, 300 million users a day still has glitches, still has issues, and I know from my own experience they do. I'm like, oh man, the video won't play, or I can't share screen right, or I can't get logged in. It happens. And so I'm like, I can live with that. I just need to make sure that we're better the next day than we were today. And we continue to move forward. We continue to advance. And so each and every one of you can make a decision that you're going to win with the Rally blockchain project, that you're going to be one of the winners. And once you make that decision internally, nothing can stop you. I'm just telling you, if you become the type of person that people plug into and you affect their environment, you'll have so much success, so much wealth, you won't even believe it. And it's not that difficult. It really isn't. It's a decision, but you each have to make it. I can't make it for you. Darren can't make it for you. But I promise you, if one of you on this call out of 100 people makes that decision, that will help every single one of us get to that next level with our link. Because that person that makes that decision on this call is going to add tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of users through their friend chain. Just because very few people are motivated to do that. Go ahead, Darren.
No, I was going to say that, man, you just brought up a great point. I know you've had mentors teach you this, and me as well, where they go, we don't make what we want, we make what we are. And it's fascinating because, being in some type of marketing for almost 30 years, I could look down through an organization. And how many of you have experienced this? And by the way, Kim, if you don't mind, can you put in the chat for anyone that had issues joining today, if you're having issues on the rally we're doing right now, can you put the email address? We want you to, I don't care how little or big the issue was, we want you to email that in, support@r-link.com, support@r-link.com. Yep, there we go. It's in the chat. Because that's the way we know to fix it, right? And every day we're getting better, just like Tony said. But anyway, Tony, but you're exactly right. We don't attract what we want. We attract what we are. And you go, what does that have to do with me going out and marketing R-Link? Everything. Because I can look through an organization in the last 30 years and go, man, that organization is full of drama, is full of negativity. And I look, and it all started with the leader, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. Then I could look down through an organization and go, oh my gosh, did they run ads? And go, if you're a happy, motivated, amazing, fun individual, caring individual, join our team, because the whole team is a bunch of amazing people. That's why you're seeing the type of people that we're attracting here, like all of you, is because culture attracts what it is and repels what it's not. So when we work on ourselves every day harder than we work on our business, then you become a magnet. Right? The late billionaire Paul Meyer would say, the world is conspiring to do me good. Things don't happen to me, they happen for me. And what's fascinating when I'm hanging out with Tony, and he's like, dude, I don't worry about it. Things always work out for me. They always, the world is conspiring to do us good. So if we have that attitude, like Tony said, we have that motivation, that internal motivation, which come from, and Tony, I'm gonna talk about a 90-day roadmap, and then I'd love to hear your feedback on this
Sure.
because I've never seen, even in direct sales or affiliate marketing, and we're blockchain, like we're totally different than that. Okay, but 90 days you could go out and put your head down and you could look back and not even recognize your life where it was 90 days ago. That was the potential. And even though it sounds so simple, very few people would give anything a consistent 90-day run. I'm talking about not 80 days, not 85 days. There's something magical about that 90-day mark. And I could go back in my career and I could tell you how many times that I fell off the wagon. I got distracted. I got discouraged. I listened to the wrong people. I got negative because I started focusing on the wrong thing. We moved in the direction that we're looking. I was looking at all the things that were wrong. I was focused on the wrong things, and I let it paralyze me. And then misery loves company. So then I started seeking out other people that had excuses. And then we would just go back and forth like a negative tennis match or pickleball match and go, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you this. And then finally I would get to the point I was fed up, sick of where I was, make a decision, make a commitment to go 90 days all in, no matter what. And let me just tell you, 99% of the time, none of my friends, none of my family went with me. I just had to show them that I loved them, I cared about them, but I was going with or without any of them. That's the best thing you could do for them, is lead by example and keep moving forward. But in 90 days, looking back, every time I had a breakthrough, it was when I made that decision. But it wasn't waiting for anyone else to make the decision. It was me. So here's what I would do. Number one, I would get clarity on why you're here. Crystal clear clarity. When the late billionaire Paul Meyer, who had 40 companies in 60 countries, gave away hundreds of millions to charity, paid for 1,000 kids a year to go to college. Can you imagine that? Hard enough to pay for one kid, let alone 1,000 children or young adults every single year. And here, when he told me that he wanted me to do a dream board, I almost laughed. I remember thinking, am I a kindergartner? Now, we have digital stuff now, but he wanted me to actually go get magazines. He wanted me to cut out things, and I didn't understand it. And here's the crazy part. They didn't have the science back then. Now they have the science where they know when you visualize an experience, you visualize that dream trip, you visualize that dream car, you visualize you giving the money to charity, helping your church, helping whatever. You visualize being debt-free. You visualize traveling all over the world, having a private jet, whatever that is with you. Like for me, it's not the things, it's the experiences with my family, the memories you create, right? Your brain and your body don't know the difference in reality and what you tell it. And so what happens, you can produce, your body will produce, when you visualize something, the same chemicals and endorphins as if you actually experienced it. So you can experience an experience before you ever experience it. And you go, well, why does that matter? Because we move in the direction of things we're familiar with. If you don't feel like you should be in that home, you're never going to live in that home. But when you visit your dreams over and over and over again, it becomes a part of you and you start to magnetize the condition that you seek. You reprogram, you rewire your brain, because you have to tell your brain what you want, and your brain wants to be right. So if you go, I can't afford it, then it goes into your subconscious folders and it looks through all these folders and goes, wait a minute, here are all the reasons that you can't afford it. Instead of saying, how can I afford it? Then your subconscious goes to work and it gets creative. Does that make sense? So when the Paul Meyer goes, look, the clearer the picture of your future here, the more goal-directed your actions are on a daily basis. What thou seest, thou beest. The late Bob Proctor said, if you can't see it in your head, you can't hold it in your hand. It is biblical. The science backs it up. So when you sit here, I would encourage every one of you, if you're unmotivated, if you're burned out, you're not unmotivated, you're not burned out, you're lacking clarity. Clarity gives you that focus. focus gives you that energy. Right now, you can't see all around my office, but I've got affirmations all on. That's a digital whiteboard. There's a real whiteboard beside it with sticky notes everywhere. There's pictures of my family. There's a 67-inch TV behind me with a lot of times it has Disney at Christmas. We're going next week, right? Because I love experiencing things with my family. I've got workout or motivational playlists when it comes to music. So I've got all of these things. I've created a success environment that constantly reminds me of why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, because I never feel like it 99% of the time. But what does feeling like it have to do with going out and achieving your goals and dreams and fighting for your family? So take some time and get crystal clear on what it is that you really want. And then when it comes to a 90-day game plan, it could not be a better time, because here we are going into the holidays. We're closing the end of the year. We're going to kick off January. Tony and I were just on a call. I don't know if Tony made it on this one. I think he was on another one right before I jumped on this one. And there was someone on this call that had made over $4 billion, one of our community members. 4 billion with a B. And he goes, listen, this, like Tony said, this is not even the bull run year. Next year, we're just now starting to warm up. He goes, 6 months from now, you're not going to believe what is happening. So if that's true, like some of us have experienced, hey, I had a 10% increase, 20% increase. But when Tony talked about Gala Games, they had a 40,000% increase, 40,000%. And when we were out there in Vegas, and there are people that were a part of that, and they go, look, we made a ton of mistakes. We made so many mistakes. So many times we're worried about mistakes. Failure is our friend. Failure and success, they're not separate. They actually go together. The founder of IBM said, if you want to double your rate of success, double your rate of failure. That's the way you double your rate of success. So they go, look, we failed, but we had a 40,000% increase. So now, years later, we're smarter. The tech is better. The developers are better. The timing is better. None of us have ever lived through what we're going through right now, where you see pro crypto, pro blockchain all over the world. Like, it is truly a perfect storm of everything that we will never get back. That's what I want you to make sure you understand. This is not hype. This is not motivation. I mean, just trying to motivate you. Go ahead and put on your calendar today's date, and then put a reminder on your phone 1 year from now. Going, was Tony and Darren right? Am I living in gratitude? Going, I gave it everything I had. I work like I've never worked in my entire life. I knew that for entrepreneur, it's different in an entrepreneur and an employee. There's a big difference. There's a season of sacrifice that happens with every Olympic athlete and every successful entrepreneur. There's a time where you do what most people would never do to be able to live a life that most people will never live. But I've never been in this place before. We have the potential. What if it happened like the last project, a 40,000% increase? So I know next year at this time, I'm either going to be going, thank God, there's nothing left in me. I am empty. I gave it all. And I'm so grateful that I did, because now I can live the rest of my life impacting the world and giving and doing all these things. Or I'm going to be looking back going, man, if I'd only known what I know now, I would have worked so much harder. I would have pushed all these things aside, knowing that every minute that we work, there are times I've worked in business, and I know Tony will tell you the same thing. I was talking to Tony, and he said, man, there was a time, Darren, where last year I was making $1,200 a minute with one of his companies, $1,200 a minute. So there are times where I used to go, hey, look, every hour that you work now, a year from now may take you 100 hours. To somebody else 100 hours to get the same thing done in your 1 hour today. And then eventually it may take them 1,000 hours. Then there'll come a point where it's impossible to do what you do. Well, that was in a traditional business. I've never been in the blockchain space where we can have this type of massive growth, and it's growing faster than the internet. So what do? We get crystal clear on why we're here. Why is that important? Because you're going to feel like quitting every single day. There's not too many days that I don't feel like quitting. I feel like quit. Now I'm down from about 100 times a day to about 20 times a day, right? So it does get better. But the difference is you can feel like it. I don't know of one pro athlete, one Olympic athlete, one successful entrepreneur that doesn't feel like quitting from time to time, but it doesn't matter. They don't go on their feelings, they go on motivation. They don't go, are my friends as sold out as I am? Do my friends believe? Let me tell you, I'm very careful who I let in my space because one negative comment is 14 times more powerful than a positive. One. Do you know how much you have to listen to? How many of you have had an amazing day and one person say something stupid and jack up your entire day? So I don't take it lightly when somebody gets in my circle, gets in my space, and puts those negative weed seeds. I've had to tell people in my life, either you be positive or you be quiet. Get rid of your stinking thinking and take a checkup from your neck up. That's what I've had to tell them sometimes, right? And then there's people that I hang around that don't want to work like I want to work. Well, that's fine if I'm at a different point in my life. But I'm at a point in my life where I want to be held accountable by somebody like a Tony Swantek, who is telling me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. You need those people in your life because a blind spot's called a blind spot for a reason. We can't see it. Les Brown, it's hard to read the label when we're in the box. It's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. So now's not the time to make excuses, because we can make excuses or make an impact and have success, but we can't do all of them. So with our link, know why you're in the business, get crystal clear clarity in every part of your life. Most people spend more time planning their vacation than they do their life. Make a decision over the next 90 days. What are you willing to give up? Maybe it's Netflix. Maybe it's whatever, right? Bowling night. I don't know. But what are you willing to give up so that you can go up? It's having a conversation with your family. I remember years ago when we were taking money out of my kids' piggy bank, going, listen, it's January, but if dad goes out and does what I need to do, which means I'm going to miss some of the things that you guys are doing, what if we go to Disney for Christmas? And I got the whole family sold out. And I worked so hard, right? So here we were. I couldn't afford kids' Christmas that December. Fast forward 12 months later, right? We're at Disney. I'm making more in a month than I used to make in several years at a job. My increase from November to December in my paycheck was bigger than my entire paycheck at the last company after 13 years. And then I had that sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach all of a sudden going, I almost quit. Like I almost gave up. And so I don't want some sports hero, some athlete, some singer, some whatever being my family's hero. I want to be my family's hero. My family knows you can knock my dad down 1,000 times. He will get up one more time. So you may quit on your family, but I'll be damned if I'm going to quit on my family. I'm not letting some little Mickey Mouse excuse knock me off my path to create generational wealth and impact. The best way that we can lead, I'd rather watch a leader than listen to one any day of the week. Now, again, I'm preaching to the choir. You're on here right now. Like you're the ones that showed up today when you didn't have to show up today. Right? And so I know that you know, which what I'm trying to do right now is transfer my belief, my opinion. I've walked away from 3 multi-million-dollar businesses in the last 5 to 6 years because they were not doing the right things. Walked away from the money. I will tell you this, and I love the fact you can see my bald head and hear me talking right now because you can feel the belief. I have never been more convicted, more positive, more motivated, more excited, more driven to where I can't even sleep about anything in my life than I am right now. And I do want my friends and my family and the people that I love and care about to see it with me. But you can't drag them. It's easier to run with 1,000 people than drag one dead body. So if we make the decision as a group, and again, you have to decide why you're doing it. And then we have to make a decision for 90 days. And then we will teach you the how-tos. The how-tos are really simple. But understand that most people are not going to see what we see. That's why it's called vision. They're not going to see that. Helen Keller, what's worse than being blind, having sight with no vision. The late Dr. Miles Monroe, sight is a function of the eyes, vision is a function of the heart. So when people don't see this, don't understand it, don't be surprised. There's a reason at age 65, 97% of the people are broke. I have a family member that has health challenges. And I go, listen, I didn't want him to feel like I was taking care of his family. I go, you buy the node, okay? And if it doesn't pay you back 100 times, I'll give you your money back. I will guarantee it. But they didn't do it. I'm like, man, we know there are people that we love and care about, and sometimes they won't participate in their own rescue. But with this platform, you've got Tony. Tony's built a 1 million person organization. I've built organizations. I know Patty and Herb on here. They've built several million, like 3 million people in an organization. Not to mention all the other people that are on here. Do you think we're going to go out and blow this platform up? Now, do you understand why Tony and Wright believe this will be the most viral blockchain project in the history of blockchain? It's not a matter of us trying to get customers, all right? Right now, we're holding the customers back so we can get people on here to get all these little bugs out, because we know we can accidentally put several million people on here in the next 90 days. And we're not ready for that yet. So again, I'm excited about where you are. Tony, is there anything that I'm missing before we wrap up? I know this is more of a call just to be able to get you in the right mindset, to understand to push through the holidays, to understand to close out the year strong, because you're going to work really hard, and it's going to be like the bamboo, right? The bamboo, people plant bamboo. Let's say you planted a bamboo seed, and you go out and you're watering it every day. Do you know that it takes several years for the bamboo to even come out of the ground? So your neighbors are looking at you going, man, I can't believe, Alan, that you're out there watering the dirt every single day. And then within a few months, it grows like 40, 50, 60 feet or more. So did it grow that much within just a few weeks and a few months? No, if you hadn't done those things, continued to water the seed in the ground with no evidence of success, no evidence of a harvest, it would have never made it that long. So that's what the holidays are. Like, holidays are when I rev it up. Guess what? Thanksgiving, man, I'm going to eat turkey and pie. I'm going to eat myself into a coma. But it's a one-day holiday, right? When it comes to Christmas, I celebrate Christmas. It's a one-day holiday. I'm going to bust it up until Thanksgiving. Then Thanksgiving, you're not going to catch me. Christmas, I'm going to bust it. Then Christmas Day, I'm out. Then I'm back at it. And by the way, during November, you have to do 3 weeks, the entire month's worth of work in 3 weeks. Even though it's only a one-day holiday, people get distracted. So I know I'm ramping up the first, 3 weeks of November. Now, here we are at the end of November. So December, you have to do a month's worth of work in 2 weeks, knowing that it's going to take more. When it comes to January, most people take 2 or 3 weeks to even get started in January. Not us. We learned that you book the first 2 or 3 days in January like you've never booked anything in your life. And that creates momentum and wakes people up. And you're a month or two ahead of people within the first 2 weeks of January. So it's exciting times in R-Link. But remember, R-Link, somebody buys a node, an extra 100,000 token bonus, retroactive as of the last Thursday. If you sell someone an R-Link node, you get 100,000 tokens bonus. You sell them 5 nodes, you get 500,000. You sell them 10 nodes, that's $1 million. What is your goal between now and the end of the month? Where do you want to be? Tony, anything that I'm missing before we close out? Anything?
No, I mean, this is awesome, Darren. You did a great job. The promotion's amazing. As Darren said, it's not always going to be easy. I had a gentleman share, it was Hebrews 12:27. And whether you believe, whatever your faith is, from a business standpoint, I think a lot of my success principles have come from the Bible. And Hebrews 12:27 talks about how everything will be shaken. And it's not because it's to scare people. It says everything will be shaken. Therefore, that which cannot be shaken will remain. And I think when tough times come on, when issues come on, when you can't click the record button and it doesn't turn on, some people, it's like, oh, it sends them into a tizzy. It's shaken. My friend can't get on the R-Link. It shakes them. And what people are looking for now, more than ever, are people that cannot be shaken, are people that remain during those tough times. And we're getting ready to come into what I would say is the largest crypto bull run in history. Our timing and positioning is perfect. You want to be one of those things that remain. You want to be one of those individuals that cannot be shaken. So let's go out over the next 90 days, be consistent, do what Darren has taught us to do, put in the work. And I'm telling you, when you look back up after 90 days straight, the results will reflect all the hard work, the energy, the effort that you put into it. So that's all I got. Darren, thanks for everything you're doing, brother. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody being on here.